Good morning. Hi. Oh, let me get the ceiling fan. I'm hiding in the girls' room. Hiding in the baby's room. You can tell I got up at 4:30 this morning. Hello. So, I'm actually going to try shutting the door. I'm hiding in the kids' room because Heath and the twins are putting together their Christmas present from us, which is a giant kitchen. And I'm really glad that they don't know what cuss words are. Yeah, love you too. I hope everything's okay there. Catherine has a friend whose husband is going through some physical stuff. Thanks. Happy New Year's Eve. So yeah, there's lots of chaos and cussing and stuff out there. So I thought I would just stand up in the kids' room. I have my books back. Course in Miracles, I have no idea where we're at, so we'll just do a book flip, and then we'll talk about this book. And my name is Michelle Wolf, and you can find me at this toddler rumpled business card, caddyshackdesigns.com. And across the top are tabs. So I'm only $250 now away from my $1,000 minimum for renewing my desire map. So thanks, guys, for sharing it and putting it out there with me. I really appreciate it. I have until the 3rd, so I feel pretty confident we're going to get there. And my mom got to meet Sarah yesterday. I'm so jealous of that. Was that the funnest thing ever? I bet it was. So let's see. Are we already on chapter 6? My goodness. We've been making some progress in that book. So let's just flip open, see what happens here. Oh, and her children, yeah, they're so beautiful. We'll start in the workbook on January. It'll actually be January 2nd because we'll be skipping around. We'll start in order on the workbook in this. So let's see what we find today. Whee! The attraction of guilt. Nothing like starting the day with a little lightweight book study. Okay, let's see what it says here. Oh, it's actually good. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to start on, if you have the book, it's chapter 19. Section something. It's on 410. The attraction of guilt produces fear of love, for love would never look on guilt at all. It's the nature of love to look upon only the truth, where there it sees itself, with which it would unite in holy union and completion. So, as love must look past fear, so must fear love not. Yoda. Love contains the end of guilt as surely as fear depends on it, and love is attracted only to love. That's why you can't be looking for attracts like, regardless of what it is. So you can't find a purity in love unless you're also expressing that yourself. You can find shades of it. You can get close to it. You'll get as close as you are to it. But you won't find the exact thing that you're looking for. I was going to see if we could change some of the funhouse mirror effect, but I guess not. That's okay. Here's what I do like. Love's messengers are gently sent and return with messages of love and gentleness. The messengers of fear are harshly ordered to seek out guilt and cherish all the negative things that they can find. I'm not sure exactly what she's talking about or what they're talking about here. The fierce attraction that guilt holds for fear is wholly absent from love's gentle perception. I think this line is important. What love would look upon is meaningless to fear and therefore invisible. So when we know that if we're not awake, we don't see, we could be standing right next to what we're looking for and we won't see it if we're asleep. So I think that's what they're trying to get at in a whole lot of words and backwards grammatical structure. What love would look upon is meaningless to fear and quite invisible. So when we're asleep, we are attracted to and drawn to and participate in the things that keep us asleep. So we engage in addictive behavior, we engage in relationship drama, we engage in gossip. Yeah, we engage in being crazy thoughts. We engage in obsessions, all the things that fear feeds upon itself. So the more fearful and asleep we are, the more things we look, we get a little cycle going there. So what we're all doing is breaking that cycle and kind of changing the direction of the wheel our life goes. I'm better than that. Yes. Oh my gosh. Gossip is the worst. And that is one thing I have really struggled with because for me, yes, me too. I like stories. I like stories about people. I like stories about all kinds of things. And gossip is a story, but it's a really negative story. And it makes you feel included in a really ugly way. Yeah, superior. Yes. So I was talking to someone yesterday who's had a worry about being called a particular name. And I said, before this thing happened to you, would you have called people like that this particular name? And she said, yeah, I guess I would have. And now she's worried about being called that name because now something has happened to her. So I was just struck by, and she's very, very young, but I was struck by how sometimes we have a hard time outgrowing that. We don't want to be that. So we talk shit about it. And then when it happens to us, we're like, oh, whoops. Now they're going to talk about me the way I used to talk about these people, those people, whatever. I think gossip's one of the, judgment. And gossip's hard to break free from because if you don't participate, people look at you suspiciously. It's like a crime, right? Everybody needs to be involved in the crime so nobody can rat anybody else out. And and this has happened to me more than once, when you have that moment in your head, like you just said, where you're just like, I'm better than this. I'm so disgusted by the stuff that's coming out of my mouth. Typically that happens right when you're in the middle of a conversation. And when you try and disengage yourself and try to step back from it all, people can get really mad at you because now they are aware. Yes, you don't want to be talked about because, yeah, it's ugly. There's just nothing good about it. And then when you take yourself out of it, people get mad. It's the same thing as when two people go on a diet. If one starts losing weight, the one that's not losing weight gets really bitchy to the one who is. It's so bizarre. That's all fear. We know that. And when we start to choose love, all our systems and all our friends get disrupted because now we're displaying what everyone else also hates about themselves. We're also offering everybody else the opportunity to join us. So far in those environments like cubicle land and corporate America and government agencies, so far I haven't found people who really want to join in holding yourselves accountable to not gossip. And when you don't gossip, it can be really isolating because people connect that way. It's like fat chat. Women connect to each other by talking about their latest diet. It's horrible. And then gossiping. Oops, I have a visitor. Hello. You can come back here. You can come back here. That's fine. Hi. He's standing at the end of the hall waving with both hands. Yeah, it's like a prerequisite. It's like your ticket, your admission ticket. Yeah. You're there for a couple of weeks and then people start feeling you out and see how much gossip you'll participate in. And it's your ticket in to the social structure. And it's not a great ticket to have. They're having a lot of fun following Heath around and helping put things together. Yeah, it's bonding. And it's easy, right? It's the easiest thing in the world. They did. They're like heat-seeking missiles. They have infrared radar in their eyeballs. They go through the house till they see the red spot. We're having our Christmas with them today. So, until you shift out of that and start to look through the eyes of love, you don't see the things that are loving. You can be right there with them. You won't see them because they're not in your field of vision. Nope. Thank you. That's got to stay open, honey. So, I don't really see a whole lot in this section other than that discussion. Yeah. I don't think Morgan's going to work a full day. And now she's going through what everyone else is going through. And the other day she was like, I don't know if I want to do hair anymore. I was like, what? You've known that since you were like 14. Now what? She said, I think I'll go get my CDL. I was like, she can't. I never say that, but I'm like, there's no way because you have 2 small children. You cannot be a truck driver unless you want to move onto the property in LJ where you have full-time daycare. You can't do that. But I don't say that. I always say, okay, well, you can get your CDL and, you may want to consider that those kinds of jobs might not be conducive to parenting young children. But, whatever, if that's what you want to do. You can't crush their dreams, right? You can't bring out the dream-smashing hammer right when they're just brainstorming. Because, of course, she's not going to go get her CDL, but she is going to consider some kind of change. She has options, yeah. Who asked you? Peanut Gallery. They're so cute today. Hi, Sarah. Sarah, right? I looked up your name on the list. Hello. We're just moving on to this Law of Divine Compensation book. I know, right? So you can't. So what I should say is turn in your notice. Go to CDL class. Get a long haul job. We'll figure it out. Yeah, it works. Hi, babies. Let's see. They probably don't want to stay in the other room with Heath because he's got, there's bits and pieces to this kitchen and they're flying everywhere and instructions are flying everywhere and profanities flying everywhere. You know that character in the Christmas story, the dad, where he's like, my dad wove a tapestry of profanity that still hangs in the air over Cleveland today or something like that. That's Heath. He's a bit of a potty mouth. Yeah. He's like a master of HBO words. Yeah. Yeah, talent. He's got mad skills in profanity. But yeah, we bought them the kitchen, but I'm not helping put it together. I was like, I can't. I gotta do my scope. Yeah, he's in there putting it all together by himself. Isn't that mean? I'm like, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I gotta go. I got stuff to do. I'll go back and help him, but we're on chapter 6, which, okay, now the book flip makes sense now because chapter 6 is beyond guilt. I'm the meanest. I hate doing that stuff. What's up, baby? What are you eating? That's the question of the day. What do you got in your mouth? Do this. Hopefully it's actual food. Beyond guilt. So we flipped open to a discussion about guilt. And I was like, what is this about? But this chapter is beyond guilt. So another major category of thoughts that deactivate the law of divine conversation is guilt. Guilt is a useless emotion. Sometimes we have good success at forgiving others, but we aren't so good. I know, right? I should just assume by now that everything's fine, because it always is. We aren't good at forgiving ourselves. This has been a topic of conversation with at least 3 different people this week that are having trouble forgiving themselves. And I haven't taken the time. I don't feel like I'm holding my feet to the fire on anything, but I have had numerous people 3 people specifically bring that conversation up about self-forgiveness. Thanks for the shares and hearts. And so we think, okay, I can believe that the universe was programmed to give me what would make me happy, but then I blew it and I can't forgive myself. Right? We think we had the greatest job and then we blew it. We had the greatest relationship and then we decided to break up, or had an affair or something and ruined it. And we always feel like it's ruined forever. We never get another chance at anything good because we screwed it all up. Hi, Roseanne. We're talking about self-forgiveness. And we'll say, too, good morning. We'll say, too, that we'll say it to other people, right? We'll say, well, you should just let yourself off the hook. Like, those people are not blaming you, and you've already gotten forgiveness from your family, so just let it go. But that's real easy for us to say. Seriously? You have like 7 million toys in the other room. Here, do you want to dig in this? There you go. Unpack that drawer. Drag all the clothes out. Uh-oh. Careful. Many of us have unpleasant and even painful memories tied up with money. And a lot of them fall under the category of, it was my own damn fault. Come on. Come on. You're awful heavy for me to be holding while we do this. She's feeling better. She's over her hand, foot, and grossness. Anyway, good morning. When we have money problems, we tend to, it is getting long, isn't it? She just woke up a little while ago. She actually has hair now, which is nice. You're sleepy? I don't know what she's doing. We blame ourselves for our money problems, even way beyond the time that we made a mistake. So we can, if we don't have money now, we can pick that axe up and just grind it and grind it. Uh-oh. What's the matter? I think she's still uncomfortable. So given the significant impact that financial mistakes have on our lives and the lives of our families, the feelings of guilt can be pretty terrible. If one of our kids has dance classes or can't have dance classes this year because of a mistake we made, that's hard. If a kid can't go to college because of a mistake or can't have the wedding of her dreams, and sometimes the consequences are worse, then the feelings of failure can be pretty intense. I have a friend who cannot bear the thought, literally cannot bear the thought of her children not wearing everything designer. Everything designer. Everything is Macy's or Nordstrom's or, the collegiate sports gear stuff is really expensive. She actually works 2 jobs to support all that. I really think that they'd like to just have her around more, but she's dead set on expensive everything for them, because that to her means she's a good mom. So that's a really painful story to have. That is the kind of stuff that can work you right into an early grave, is being obsessed. And of course it's painful that if you can't give your kids what you think they should have. But we can do a lot with ourselves by rethinking what kids actually need versus what we think they should have. Yeah, is that hurting? Are you, what's up? You just want to play today? We may have made mistakes in our past, but we're not bound by the... I don't know what you want. You're going to break my arm. As long as we're willing to think now as we did not think then, stuff is what it is. Yes. That's the beauty. Oh my. That's the beauty of making a ton of mistakes, is you get real clear on what really matters. You get really, really clear on how much energy you're willing to spend on things. And I don't know about other people, but for me, I'm not willing to spend 60 hours a week in a job that I don't like to pay for status symbols. Nope. Nope. No Tiffany's for you. Kids need us around. Labels. Nope. Yeah. It's very sad to me to watch parents working themselves to death over labels. And far too many sports, in my opinion. If your kid is playing sports year-round, I'm definitely making a judgment here. They have no time for their imagination. And they don't have time to get bored and do creative problem solving. I really need to put you down. You're awful heavy. Let's see. So if we're willing to act now differently, we can clean up in the present what needs to be cleaned up from the past, if there's anything left. And now we know who we are. Oh, not only physical labels. Whoa. Like, what do you mean? Like personality labels or any kind of label? Sweetie. Hold on just a second, guys. Let me see if I can find something. Baby, I don't know what you want. I don't think she knows what she wants. Do you not know what you want either? Look at this grumpy face. Oh. You just want to see the screen the whole time? Okay, I'm reading like backwards over my shoulder. Hi, Sarah! I saw that picture of you with my mom. I was telling her I'm so jealous. Okay, the ego is that which both sets you up to do the wrong thing. Good morning. Then, viciously punishes you for having done so. We're really winging it today. Oh, she had a blast. I haven't got to talk to her. I'm glad. She was really glad you were able to join her little brunch party thing. Or even come by at all, so. The ego lures you into doing something stupid for a status symbol. And then... Hey, look at those hearts. Look at the hearts. She's so fussy today. Okay, so you get tricked into doing something stupid financially because you think you have to have a gigantic house or your kids have to have certain kinds of clothing. And then when it all backfires, that same ego that set you up that way beats the hell out of you for your mistake. Now it argues that everything is terrible and is only going to get worse. Point being that the ego lies. The ego lies. And if you're feeling a compulsion to do something, you absolutely should not do it. Sup. If you're feeling internal pressure to do something, yes, stinky lying ego. Stinky liar. Guilt is savage. Thanks. Savage is a good word for guilt. There's clean, I think we talked a little bit about there's clean guilt and dirty and shame. There's clean, instantaneous guilt and then shame. Momentary guilt when you do something wrong is an indicator that you've done something wrong. Hey buddy, you've hurt someone or you've been rude or look at the screen. Look. it's pure guilt. And it's just like, hey, you screwed up, catch yourself. That's momentary and brief. It doesn't last very long. What do you want? Do you want this? There's a kitty. What's kitty say? Shame is the worst. Shame is not useful at all. Guilt tells you did something bad. Shame tells you that you are bad and you can't be redeemed from that. Hey. I'm not feeling very productive at the moment. I think your grandpa needs help. Here's how you know guilt is pure. You do something wrong. You feel guilty about it. Yeah, she probably did. You feel guilty about it. Ugh. And you make amends. Then you don't feel guilty anymore. It's that quick. You say something crappy to somebody. You make your apologies. You cook them breakfast or whatever. And then you don't feel bad anymore because there's no need for it anymore. I don't know what you want, dear. You don't know what you're reaching for. How about these owls? Look. You want these owls right here? How about this? You want to play with that? Yay! I just bought us approximately 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, you would have? What are you going to do, right? I grew up in a church where the kids were in the main room. There was no Sunday school by intention. I mean, the point was that kids are a part of our lives and worshiping God is part of our lives, and you have to find a way to worship God when you're juggling kids. So, oh my God, she laughed. So, okay, maybe I gave her enough attention I can get 5 minutes. Where were we? Yes, absolutely. I think I'm just stubborn. So, guilt that goes too far and turns into shame is the most destructive emotion, if you even want to call it an emotion, on the planet. When I'm glad that Brene Brown has brought shame to the forefront, because there was a woman named Helen, whose name I can't remember, Helen something. She did a lot of research on shame in the 50s or 60s, a long time ago. Could not ever get it into mainstream attention. She was a sociologist. Can't remember her name. It's Helen something. If you Google Helen shame sociology, you'll probably find it. She did an enormous amount of work on shame, and no one would listen to her. So I was glad that when Brene Brown did her work on shame, we were a little more willing to hear it, because it's critical and it's at the root of most addictions. It's at the root of most relapses. When people relapse, if they can't handle the shame of a relapse or a mistake or something, they go off the rails, and sometimes you don't get them back. I mean, that's how powerful shame can be. And shame is utterly destroyed by taking apart the story around it. The story that I'm unforgivable. Yes, and domestic violence. Yes, very much. Very much. Domestic violence is an addiction cycle also. So, we must always remember this. He said his reprieve, and I still wanted more. You still wanted more payment? Shame is self-abuse. It's self-abuse that leads us to abuse others. You start out abusing yourself, and then you abuse others. Because how do we act when we're ashamed? We don't act like good people. We're not supportive to our friends and family. We hide, or we're destructive. Oh, Michelle, that's pretty common. Like, because, yes, the total pits. Here's what happens sometimes with men and affairs. They say, I said I was sorry. And you're left wanting more because that's not really an apology. So if you were wanting more, it wasn't as sincere an apology. It was still tinged, probably, with shame. If there's shame there, we want to say we're sorry, and we don't want to talk about it ever again. I'm sorry. I said I was sorry. Now I don't want to talk about this ever again. Because there's still shame. If we're talking about it and I feel bad, I want you to shut up. It's not emotional. The apology part. Right, no, we can't pick and choose. Here's the thing, if you've done something to hurt someone and you've apologized and it's not, they need more. I think it depends on the man, Roseanne. Cheating can be emotional. It can also be driven by shame. It could also be self-sabotage if things are going well in a relationship. An affair can be an act of destroying and bringing the happiness level back down where it's comfortable. Yeah, it's complex. If you don't feel like the apology is enough, then it's not enough. And sometimes a lot of therapy with couples is finding that place where it's enough. Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, it's different for everybody. You're fine, Rosanna. It's really good questions. Shame can drive an affair, and shame can prevent the reparations that need to be made after an affair. Because it's really hard, that betrayal of trust. And each person has to decide if they're even capable of repairing what's been damaged. And repairing the damage is a lot of undoing stories. It's a lot of deciding where your non-negotiable areas are. And those definitions and decisions may change day by day. Shame. Oh, yeah, it won't ease your shame. Shame could do more destruction than the guilt for sure. So I'm glad I didn't go there. Yeah. Shame can make it impossible for people to come back to whatever system is broken. So a couple is a system, and if one person, unbalances the whole system, and the injured party does a lot of shaming, it makes it impossible to come back, because we have a hard time, right? We know we screwed up, and the person that we screwed up on is shaming us, and we're shaming ourselves. So what happens? Unless you have a very strong personality, you can't handle that amount of shame, so you disappear. You might physically stay, but emotionally completely disappear and never come back. Most often, men will physically disappear. They'll just leave. They'll just go. Because they can't handle that shame, because as humans, we just find it unbearable. It's unbearable. Shamed? Well, we do. Is anyone on here struggling with self-forgiveness? It's been such a topic this week. So, when somebody hurts us and we're really hurt, it's a natural human tendency to dig the knife a little deeper, to try to get some sense of justice. It never works, but it's really normal to try. We have to remember that guilt is untrue. You were created as an innocent child of God, and that reality is changeless. That is why it is built into the nature of the universe that you can compensate for past errors and start over. Oh, we make it so hard. We make it so hard. Take apart our story and then everything's easy. You can spend an afternoon. You could take a weekend and just start picking apart every single story that comes to mind. And at the end of a couple of days, you'd be literally probably 1,000 pounds energetically lighter. It'd be nice if at the end you'd be 50 physical pounds lighter, but that'll come later. Okay, this is important, this next piece. Sometimes when we've made a mistake, well-meaning people will say to us, it happened for a reason. When we know in our hearts, yeah, it happened for a reason. And the reason is I made a dumb mistake. The inner work diet. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes we need to face the harsh reality that we did make a mistake and look at the fact with open eyes. If we own our mistakes and own them right away, they can't torture us. No one can keep digging at you if you go ahead and just own it. And every time it gets brought up, you own it again. You cheated on me. Yeah, I did. And I'm sorry. And you mean it. And you keep saying it 1,000 times if that's what it takes. You don't argue about it. You don't justify it. You own it, all of it. Good. I'm glad. I think, yeah. So this quote from the I Ching speaks powerfully to our need for brutal self-honesty when we have made mistakes. It's only when we have the courage to face things exactly as they are, without any self-deception or illusion, that a light will develop out of events by which the path to success may be recognized. We talk about this all the time. We have to get back in alignment, and then a light develops that shows us the path out of our mess, or shows us what we need to do to make amends or repair what can be repaired, and grieve the loss of things that maybe can't be repaired. Not every broken dish can be fixed. It does bring us closer to God. It does. We might need to feel the shame of knowing we did something stupid and burn through the pain of that. Yes. Oh gosh, yes. The minute you own it 100%, the minute you are in that holy instant and you are open to receiving the miracle of the shift in perception that you need to see the answer or the next step. Hi, Pumpkin. A failure means a failure only if we refuse to learn from it. Any situation that teaches us greater humility, sobriety, wisdom about ourselves and others, definitely. I got a kid between me and the camera. Okay, yeah. It teaches us forgiveness, depth of reflection, and better decision making in the future. And it teaches us what's truly important. And that's not an ultimate failure. It teaches us that we really can't fail. Not forever. We can make mistakes. But in my mind, a failure is someone who's at the end of the road and can't be open to another chance and can't make amends. Sometimes what we deem a failure sometimes what we deem a failure at the time it happens actually serves to foster a change within us that creates an even greater success down the road. Great people are not those who have never fallen down. Great people are those who, when they do fall down, dig deep within themselves and find the strength to get back up. Who do you want to tell your problems to? Someone who's never made a mistake? I don't. I don't want to tell my problems to someone I perceive as being perfect. I'm not going to feel comfortable with that. I want to know that other people have fallen down and gotten back up, because then I want to know how they did it. Failure is giving up entirely, yeah. Sinking down into the addiction and staying there. Staying asleep and choosing, actively opposing waking up and living an authentic life. Mediocre is scary, yeah, absolutely, because mediocre is not alive. It's a zombie state of half awake and half asleep. That's even worse. Yeah, we get inspired. I don't want to be mediocre, because half asleep to me is worse than all the way asleep. If you're all the way asleep, you don't know. If you're stuck in mediocre, half asleep, half awake, you can't ever be happy, because You know there's more to the story and can't figure out how to get there. Sometimes the dark night of the soul, let's say sometimes the dark weeks of the soul, teaches us some very important things about ourselves. Where we got it right and where we got it wrong. And we can do more of what we did right and less of what we did wrong. It's really that simple. Spiritually healthy people are those who take responsibility for their mistakes, atone, do what they can, and allow forgiveness and mercy to wash them clean. If you're like the rest of us, you've screwed up royally at one point or another. Yeah. But it doesn't serve you or anyone else for you to beat yourself up continually. Have a remorse? Yes. Grow from your mistakes and make things right as best you can. Yes. Right here. Stay stuck in the mire of self-hatred? Absolutely not. We've made mistakes in our past, but we're not bound to those mistakes in the present. As long as we're willing to think now, as we did not think then, we can clean up. You got the shirt. Here comes that. What are you doing? You're making that. Getting quite the lecture. Okay. Here's what we can say about our past errors, and then I'll wrap it up. I hear a lot of frustration going on in the other room, and I'm starting to feel appropriate guilt. Atonement is a spiritual reset button. It's your reboot. It's a gift from God, allowing us to clear the karma of past mistakes. So, it was kind of mean to be like, here's the instructions in 400 zillion plastic parts. See ya! Sometimes it's not a good idea to try to put things together if you're a husband and wife team, or a wife and wife, or husband and husband. Sometimes spousal units should not work together, says the voice of experience. If we acted without wisdom, suffering is to be expansive. He is handy. He is the guy for the zombie apocalypse. It should be. If you're a couple, one of you should leave now. So Jesus, some 500 years later, revealed the alchemy of God's mercy, which posits that in a moment of grace, all karma is burned and all debts are paid and forgiven. From Catholics at confession to Jews on the Day of Atonement, to people taking their moral inventory at a 12-step meeting, the notion of the atonement is part of the wisdom teachings of all major religious and spiritual systems of the world. We have to have a way to come back to the social circle. We're going to screw up, and we have to have a road back in. That's why prisons don't work. Prisons don't work, except for the truly deviant, which is a really small percentage of the population. Prisons make their money off people being in prisons, and then they lobby with the government. It's a very complex system. But it doesn't work because it doesn't give people a way back into the social system. Atonement is owning it and making whatever amends that you can make. Oh, Roseanne's going to get us an actual definition, which is awesome. Thank you. Atonement in the Course of Miracles is waking up, making it right, waking up to the fact that there ultimately is nothing to forgive. Atonement can bring a profound level of humbling. It allows us to see clearly and take responsibility for our mistakes. If we're open to atonement, if we can say even a little bit, that this is really my fault. Yes, coming back to center, coming back into the connection. So human beings get cast out of the social circle when they do something wrong, and we need a way for them to come back in. We do that with ourselves. When we cast ourselves out so to speak. We throw our own selves out of the Garden of Eden because we're judging and mad. Amends. The way back to ourselves is asking for a miracle and being willing to see it, being willing to have a change in perception. You may or may not be surprised is that most people cannot accept any responsibility when they've made a mistake. Accepting responsibility for a mistake requires the strength of personality to be able to understand that you're not devastated by your mistake. So transparency is miraculous. Holding secrets and keeping things back is extremely destructive. It ties up a lot of your energy. Yes, emotional maturity. You have to understand that you can make a mistake and still be loved. You can make a mistake and people can be mad at you and still love you at the same time. Immature people can't grasp the concept that both can exist alongside each other. So they think only that they hate me and it's never going to get any better, and they can't see the long-term view. So they leave or they get more self-destructive. So that's why children will lie to you even when you've caught them red-handed. Don't play with those kind of people, no. So for anybody, atonement gives us the power to forgive ourselves. It gives us back our self-respect because we've done what we could do. Being accepted back in, I'd like to know what that is. We still treat addicts as outcasts. We make it very hard for them to come back into the system, the social system. We put people in prison for addiction. Yeah, I'm not surprised. We put people in prison for drug addiction, and sometimes that needs to happen for safety reasons, but it can be done in a treatment center. And when we treat them as cast-off and failures, they have a hard time coming back in. And once you've been to prison, you may have a really hard time ever getting a job or an apartment or the things that the basic social needs that you have to be a functioning member of society again. It's terribly destructive. It really is. It's a soapbox issue for me. I can go on and on about, we sometimes make it impossible to recover. So then people relapse because they don't have any resources. We don't give them the resources to stay sober. It's also hard to tell someone who's a multi-generational gang kid to go work at McDonald's for $7.25 an hour when he can make $7,000 in a night or more. Those kids can make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every night of the week, depending on where they live. And they're like, I get it. I can have $10,000 a week, or I can have $200 a week. You want me to do what? That makes no sense to a 16-year-old brain. It really doesn't make any sense to a 49-year-old brain if you think about it. They don't see all the other stuff that comes with it. That amount of money is too high a price to pay to get it. Yes, moral corruption. Here's the thing. Oh, thank you. Yes, and that's true. There's an HBO series about addiction that's excellent. Excellent. I used to use it for families a lot to help them understand that. Yes, there's responsibility in addiction, and there's also powerlessness there. It's very complicated. Well, I'll say it's really not that complicated. We complicate it with our stories about what people should be, and we still see addicts from a temperance view that if you're addicted to something, you are morally corrupt. That it's a moral problem. You're a loser. Otherwise, you wouldn't do that. Which is hilarious, because that usually comes from closet alcoholic preachers. I'm just Judgy McJudge today. Alcohol especially. Here's the good news. I took your words right out of your texting fingers. The good news is the love, divine love. We can lose our family's love. We can lose our friends' love. But we can never lose God's love, ever. We can never lose the love of Source. Yes. And all it takes is for us to have a moment of a shift in perception. And the more you meet yourself with love and understanding, the more you can meet others with love and understanding. The more you own your own mistakes, the easier it is to allow other people to make mistakes. And because you've already practiced it with yourself. You've already learned how to welcome yourself back into center and connection to Source, so you can offer that to other people. That's the good news. And the good news is on the prison system, just to give you a ray of hope on that, that's changing rapidly. We already know it doesn't work. In many, many, many states, Colorado's one of them, is backtracking fast and putting more programs into place. So all that stuff created change. All the fallout has created some good stuff. So it's definitely not a hopeless situation at all. And over time, just like a TED Talk on it and an HBO series on it, it's all work. You weren't taught that as a kid. We just got into some depressing talk about addicts and how they're treated or have been treated in our in our society. I think a lot of churches teach conditional love, that God's love is conditional, because it's that version of religious dogma is not created for an understanding of God's love. It's created for compliance. Yeah, it's because it's about compliance and power, not the truth of love. If I can threaten you, yes. If I can threaten you and make you think if you don't do what I want you to do that something horrible is going to happen, it's a great way to control the population. But the good thing is we're awake. Yes, all of that and more. The more we wake up, the more we wake up the people around us. I think what Marianne Williamson said a few weeks ago is true. Our society as a whole has reached the end of the road and doesn't know what to do next. What do we do when we reach the end of the road? We turn to God. We turn back to Spirit. We turn toward people who are talking about these things, and we say, how do we do this? How do we get ourselves out of this mess? So the more available we are to the people around us to answer those questions and to be conduits for that love. Oh, yes. Hi, Chickie. Yes, which is brilliant. All of that. We've reached the end of our rope, so we're doing something. And your daughter will always know that God's love is unconditional. That's a gift. That means her children will know it, and their children will know it, and that's how the world changes. Teach our children differently. You won. I won in this game. So if you are holding on to a spot where you are having trouble forgiving yourself, please recognize that that is an illusion. You're asleep at the wheel. And it's important to wake up and realize that God loves us the same when we do the wise thing as when we make mistakes. His love for us is based not on our behavior, but on who we are. And He knows who we are. Innocent within. Absolutely, Linda. It's a blessing. Because He made us that way. When we make a mistake, It's because in the moment we make it, we forgot who we were. And his response to that is not to punish, but to correct. This doesn't mean you don't have to make amends. But the mercy of the universe lies in the fact that you're given the opportunity to do so. You might not get a bigger paycheck right away. You might have to make do with less for a while. But you will see the handwriting of God in all of it if you participate in, rather than resist, the balancing of the spiritual scales. They already do. Linda, they already do. Love always wins. Always. Always. And the faster we can remember that, the faster we get back to it. So here's the prayer for this chapter. Dear God, I feel that I have failed. I feel that all my efforts have come to naught. I feel shame at the way my life has turned out. I do not know what to do or where to go. Please, dear God, repair my heart, heal my mind, and change my life. Pave a way for me out of darkness into light. I atone for my errors, and I pray for forgiveness. Please do for me what I cannot do. Thank you, God. Amen. Do you guys talk to Spirit out loud? Sometimes I do. If I'm having trouble shifting, sometimes I just talk out loud. It seems to help. I have never done that until maybe this year. Sometimes, Nina, I definitely don't do it all the time, but I think it helps. I find it helpful when I do it. So love, this is back into the Course in Miracles. Love would set a feast before you on a table covered with a spotless cloth, set in a quiet garden where no sound but singing and a softly joyous whispering is ever heard. This is a feast that honors your holy relationship and at which everyone is welcomed as an honored guest. I think habit, maybe because we're told if we talk to ourselves, we're crazy. In a holy instant, grace is said by everyone together as they join in gentleness before the table of communion. I will join you there as long ago I promised and promise still. For where I am made welcome, there I am. That's happening to me too, Roseanne, quite a bit. Wherever spirit is made welcome, it is there. Just saying out loud, I want to choose love instead. I am willing to choose love instead. Immediately starts the shift and the turnaround. Open up the dialogue, yes. You're doing that with your cards. So, that's our Thursday. I feel like we need like closing theme music. Like I should have a musical interlude at the end. Like a TV show. But I am going to go, hi, toddler. Ha! Let's go put together your kitchen. I'm going to go help him put together Christmas presents. So I will see you tomorrow. I'll shoot for 9:30 again. And tomorrow is the Dowdy Jean and Byron Katie Day. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for being patient with talking through having a business card shoved in my mouth. Yes, Happy New Year! If you're going out tonight, be safe. Okay. Have fun. You have fun. Thank you so much. Bye.